for those of you that don't know me, I'm Nintu and I post true crime and chit chat type of videos twice a week, and I occasionally post vlogs and fashion related content. So if that's the type of content you're into, make sure to hit that bell button so that you stay notified every time I post. So today we're actually going to be talking about an unsolved murder of JonBenét Patricia Ramsey, who was a child beauty queen who was found dead at the age of 6 under mysterious circumstances. Now, usually in my true crime videos, I always start off by talking about the perpetrator, but because this case is unsolved, there is no known perpetrator for me to really talk about. So I'm going to start off by talking about JonBenét Ramsey and her family situation, and then I will go into the case itself and the theory surrounding it. Okay, so JonBenét Patricia Ramsey was an American child beauty queen who was born on August 6, 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia. So her family consisted of her two parents, Patricia Ramsey and JonBenét Ramsey, along with her older brother named Burke, who was born in 1987, which makes him only 3 years older than JonBenét. And like you can probably guess, JonBenét Patricia Ramsey's name derived from her father's first and middle name, along with her mother's first name as JonBenét's middle name. So growing up, it is said that JonBenét was an outgoing child who enjoyed being the center of attention. And by the age of 6, she had already won multiple pageant titles, and she was enrolled in kindergarten at High Peaks Elementary School in Boulder, Colorado. Okay, so let's get a deeper insight into who JonBenét's parents were, because this will help us understand the theories a lot better and just the case itself. So her father, John Ramsey, was a multi-millionaire businessman who was the president of a company called Axis Graphics, which is a computer software company, which later became a subsidiary for a company called Lockheed Martin. So he actually had another family prior to JonBenét and Burke and all of that. So he was actually married and had 2 children, but he got divorced in 1979. And then in 1991 is when John ends up moving in with his second wife, Patricia Ramsey, along with Burke and JonBenét. And they end up moving to Boulder, Colorado, because this is where the headquarters for Axis Graphics was located. Okay, so her mother, on the other hand, was a former beauty queen, and she was actually Miss West Virginia 1977. So as you can probably guess, Patricia Ramsey was actually the one that would enter JonBenét into all these child beauty pageants, and she was basically just this pageant mother, which I don't know if you guys have ever watched Toddlers and Tiaras, but she was basically that mother, you know? But anyways, back to Patricia before JonBenét. She had actually attended West Virginia University, and she had a BA in journalism, which she graduated for in 1978. Now, when it comes to their family home, it is said to have been very luxurious and plush with everything that JonBenét could possibly need to live a comfortable life. And guys, they were rich. Like, they owned a yacht, 2 private jets, and a holiday home in Michigan. And their net worth in 1999 was reported to be $6.4 million. Okay, so now that we've had a little insight into JonBenét's life along with her family, let's dig into the actual kidnapping and murder itself. And in order to do this, we have to rewind a bit to December 25th, 1996. So on this day, it is said that JonBenét, along with her family, had spent their evening at the house of their family friends Fleet and Priscilla White. And they are said to have arrived back to their house before 10 p.m. and this is when JonBenét was put to bed, which, keep in mind, JonBenét was only 6 years old at the time, so going early to bed was not something out of the ordinary. So then the next day, on December 26th at around 5:30 a.m., the family had woken up so that they could take a private jet to their holiday home in Michigan. So then at this point, Priscilla and John go about their morning like they usually do. However, when Priscilla goes to start up breakfast for the family, she notices what appears to be a ransom note written to John near the bottom of their spiral staircase. So this ransom note was basically demanding $118,000 for the safe return of their daughter JonBenét. And like a typical ransom note, it also stated not to call the police and that they would be in contact with the family between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. that morning. And no offense, but I looked at that ransom note and it literally looked like it was written by a child. Like, it was like chicken scratch. But yeah, that's besides the point. So then Patricia actually ends up calling the police, and she is put through to a dispatcher named Kimberly Archuleta. And I'm actually just going to play the call here so that you can really listen to the intensity of the situation and the emotions behind the whole call.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 5515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay? There's a note left and our daughter's gone. A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter? 6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old. How long ago was it? I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's gone. Does it say who took her? What? Does it say who took her? I don't know. There's a ransom note here. It's a ransom note? It says SBTC. Victory. Please. Okay, what's your name? Are you Kathy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please. I'm sending an officer over, okay? Please. Do you know how long she's been gone? No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please. Okay, well, there's somebody. I am, honey. Please. Take a deep breath, please. Okay? Hurry. Kathy. Patsy?
So then from analyzing that call, you can kind of tell that Patricia thought she had hung up the call at one point, but she actually didn't, and the dispatcher was just kind of listening in to whatever was going on. So since it was the Christmas holidays, the regular officers were on holiday with their families, so a lot less experienced officers were the ones that arrived to the Ramsey residence to deal with the kidnapping. However, in the meantime, the Ramseys did end up calling their family friends that they were with the day before to come over and kind of help search for JonBenét. So this couple actually did end up coming shortly after the police had arrived at the scene already. And then at around 7:30 a.m., John is said to have left the living room so that he can go get the ransom money for the kidnappers. So then at 10 a.m., police ended up blocking off JonBenét's bedroom to keep it from contamination, and around the time, the FBI had also arrived to wiretap the phone. Now, if you remember the ransom note, you'll remember that the call was actually supposed to be between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. so that window of time had actually already passed. So the FBI had decided to leave the scene, but they did leave one officer to stay with the Ramseys. So then a detective named Linda Arndt from the Boulder Police Department ends up suggesting that John keep himself busy by searching the house. Okay, so let me just actually put this into perspective for you. So their house was actually 7,000 square feet. It was a 4-story house with 5 bedrooms and multiple staircases. And they also had a basement that spanned the entire underneath of the house. And the basement was actually parted into a bunch of smaller rooms, which it is said that JonBenét and Burke would often go down there to play. So there was actually also a broken window pane which was located at one of the windows surrounding the basement, but the family had actually decided not to get it fixed because John would often lock himself out of the house, so it was just an easy way for him to get back in. So then police believe that this is how the kidnappers would have gained entry into the house, as there was no signs of any other break-ins. So then just after 1 p.m. that same day, John and Fleet White end up finding JonBenét's body in the basement. She had been wrapped in a blanket and had duct tape over her mouth, along with Garrett tied around her neck with a paintbrush, which had been used as leverage. And she was actually also already dead when they had found her. So then her father John actually ends up carrying her body up the stairs, and he places her on the floor, which police then end up moving her to one of the sofas, and she remained on that sofa until about 8 p.m. when the coroner had arrived to take her away. So her body was basically there for like 7 hours after she was found. But anyways, the coroner ends up concluding that JonBenét Ramsey had been killed by ligature strangulation and endured legs, and other body parts. There was actually also marks that looked like it was left from a taser. So there was a theory that JonBenét's kidnapper used a taser on her to subdue her, but there was actually no taser ever found. But they did end up comparing the marks left on her body with train track pieces from a train set that was in the basement, and 2 of the marks did end up matching 2 of the train pieces pretty well. And it was also noted that there was blood in her underwear and that DNA had also been found. And it was also noted that her hymenal opening was larger than usual, which kind of indicated that sexual abuse did play a role in this entire ordeal. And there was some other proof of sexual abuse because JonBenét used to wet and soil the bed often. However, a forensic scientist by the name of Henry Lee ended up testing store-bought underwear, and the results actually came back positive for DNA trace evidence, which kind of showed that the DNA found in JonBenét's underwear could have came from the manufacturing process itself. So the head injury which JonBenét had actually sustained during her attack had actually not broken any skin, so the coroner did not notice the significant blow until an internal inspection was done. However, the head wound did actually show remarkable similarities to a flashlight that was found on the Ramsey's kitchen counter. And there was also the case of the baseball bat, but John Ramsey was actually very adamant that this bat did not belong to the family despite it being found on their property. And evidence actually rules out that this could have been an accidental fall because the injuries that were sustained would need heavy force behind it. Okay, so before digging into all the theories behind the case, I want to talk about witness reports because there was actually quite a few witness reports, and it kind of just gives you more of an insight to like what other people thought might have happened and just the theories itself. And just so I don't get any of the details wrong, I'm actually going to read it off my Google document for you guys. So let's just get right into that. So Barbara Kostnik was the mother of a playmate of JonBenét Ramsey, and she asserted the day before Christmas, JonBenét was at our house playing with Megan. The kids were talking about Santa, getting all excited. I asked JonBenét if she had visited Santa yet, and she said, "Oh, Santa was at our Christmas party the other night." Megan had seen Santa at the Pearl Street Mall, so we talked about that. Then JonBenét said, "Santa Claus promised that he would make a secret visit after Christmas." I thought she was confused. "Christmas is tonight," I told her, "and Santa will be coming tonight." No, JonBenét insisted. "He said this would be after Christmas and it's a secret." And then following this report, Rocket Mountain News account reportedly that Patricia Ramsey has said she never heard JonBenét make the statement about Santa. So then there was another witness report that said at about midnight, Scott Gibbons, a neighbor, looked out his window towards the Ramsey's house and saw a light on in the kitchen area. So then there was another witness report that stated a neighbor to the north would say that the Butler kitchen lights were on around midnight and considered that unusual since it was the first time he had noticed that the light was on in the Ramsey home at this time. Although there was no name given, Gibbons lived next door to the Ramseys to the immediate north, and he would have had a direct view of the Butler pantry. So then there was also another source that had talked about this. So according to internet poster Blue Crab, Gibbons from his own kitchen window observed the late night movement of people in the Ramsey kitchen, who according to Gibbons seemed to be creeping around in the semi-darkness so as not to awaken others in the house. Gibbons also saw a light on in the butler's kitchen at about 12 midnight, and this was the first time he had ever seen the light burning. And there was another report that stated that sometime later, Adam Vermeer, another neighbor who was up watching TV, said he didn't notice anything strange through the window that faced the Ramsey's house. And a neighbor who lived across the street from the defendant's home, however, reported that she heard a scream during the early morning of December 26, 1996. Experiments have demonstrated that the vents from the basement may have amplified the scream so that it could have been heard outside the house, but not 3 stories up in the defendant's bedroom. And the last and final report that I'm going to read to you guys is about a third neighbor to the west who said that her dogs who barked at anyone in the alley, just as they did when the police came to question her, made no noise on Wednesday night. And Wednesday night refers to Christmas night, which was when JonBenét was kidnapped and murdered. Okay, so now let's dig into the theories. So in this case, there are two main theories, which is the family member theory and the intruder theory. So we're going to start off by talking a bit about the family member theory. So let's start off by talking about her older brother Burke, who was 9 at the time of her murder. So like I had mentioned previously, JonBenét had actually been put to bed at around 10 p.m. on Christmas night, but this theory basically states that Patricia, her mother, may have taken her to the bathroom, and then JonBenét may have went downstairs to get a snack in the kitchen. Now this is where a lot of people think that Burke gets involved, because they believe that Burke might have been in the kitchen eating a snack as well. So something I didn't mention about JonBenét's autopsy is that there was actually a piece of undigested pineapple in her stomach, and there was also a bowl of pineapple in the Ramsey's kitchen. And the reason Burke is relevant in this theory is because there were Burke's fingerprints on that bowl. So what people believe may have happened is JonBenét went and she basically took a pineapple from Burke's bowl that he was snacking from, and maybe Burke got mad and lashed out. Now it is also said that Patricia, Burke and JonBenét's mother, had been so focused on JonBenét and these pageants that all her focus and attention really went to JonBenét and just winning these pageants. So she like bleached JonBenét's hair and all that, and like basically Burke was kind of deprived of the attention from his mother because she was so focused on being such a pageant mother for JonBenét. And another thing to note is that when Burke was younger, he actually hit JonBenét in the face with a golf club because he was angry and had an outburst for something. He actually hit her so hard that she ended up having to have plastic surgery. And another thing to note is that JonBenét had actually had to visit a doctor 37 times that year itself. Now, on the other hand, there is a theory that Patricia, her mother, could have also been the killer. Now, like I said before, JonBenét had a history of bedwetting and bed soiling. So it is said that perhaps she had wet the bed or soiled the bed that night, and Patricia got frustrated and struck her with the flashlight. Now, basically how the theory goes is that after she struck her with the flashlight, she may have freaked out at what she had just done and basically strangled her to make it seem like it was a kidnapper, or just kind of shift the blame to someone else. And just another thing to note is that the paintbrush that was used as leverage when the garrote was tied around JonBenét's neck was actually Patricia's paintbrush from her craft area. And police had actually also noted that Patricia was in the same clothes she was in the day before, which seemed kind of unusual for a pageant queen to do. And lastly, moving on to John, her father, he had actually claimed that he was the one that carried her out of the car and put her to bed. However, there was no DNA of his or anyone else in that family for that matter on JonBenét's clothing. And Detective Karen Arndt, who I spoke about earlier, also claimed that he was acting pretty strangely throughout the whole situation, and he had even taken the time to read his mail while the police were still there looking for JonBenét. And something to also note is, like I said, Karen Arndt was the detective that told John to search the house, but she had told him to start from the top floor to the bottom, but instead John immediately started with the bottom floor and he went with Fleet White, and they found the body immediately in the basement. And on top of that, he was acting so strangely that this same detective had actually stated in an interview that she was convinced that he was the killer. And according to Fleet White, John actually cried out to him prior to finding JonBenét's body and prior to turning on the light into the wine cellar. And that kind of made Fleet White suspicious because the wine cellar was a room that they had previously searched. So it was just kind of strange and just weird that John immediately knew to cry out because JonBenét's body was in there. Now, before moving on to the next theory, I wanted to read off a quote that an FBI agent, Ron Walker, had said. So in virtually every staged murder case that I've seen, the perpetrator manipulates the arrival of friends or other family members who are then put in the situation where they actually discover the body, or they are with the perpetrator when the body is discovered. So I don't know about you guys, but John seems really suspicious to me right now. But yeah, we'll go on to the next theory, and there's so many other theories surrounding this case. but I'm just going to focus on the main two theories right now. Okay, so the next theory is the intruder theory, and this is actually a theory which the police had followed leads on because there was an unidentified boot mark in the basement room of where JonBenét's body was found. Early persons of interest included one of their neighbors, Bill Reynolds, who played Santa Claus, a former family housekeeper named Linda Hoffman Fu, and a man named Michael Helgoth, who had actually died in a suicide attempt shortly after JonBenét's death. And of course, hundreds of DNA tests were done, but none of the DNA that was recovered had matched up with the DNA that was recovered during JonBenét's autopsy. Now, I actually just want to read to you guys why a detective believed that the intruder theory was a viable theory for this case. So, Lou Smith, a detective in the case, assessed the evidence and concluded that an intruder had committed the crime. On the night JonBenét was killed, there had been 2 windows that had been left slightly open to allow for electrical cords from the outside Christmas lights to pass through, a broken basement window, and an unlocked door. Smith's theory was that someone entered the Ramsey home through the broken basement window. This had been criticized because there was an intact cobweb in the basement window. The steel grate that covered the window also had undisturbed cobwebs, and the foliage around the grate had been undisturbed. There was also cobwebs in the tracks of various windows, and dust and debris were on some sills. Smith believed that the intruders subdued JonBenét using a stun gun and took her down to the basement. JonBenét was killed and the ransom note was left. Smith's theory was supported by former FBI agent John E. Douglas, who had been hired by the Ramsey family. Believing that the Ramsey were innocent, Smith resigned from the investigation on September 20th, 1998, 5 days after the grand jury was convinced against the Ramseys. While no longer an official investigator on the case, Smith continued to work on it until his death in 2010. Now, another thing to note is that there had actually been over 100 burglaries around the Ramsey's neighborhood before the murder of JonBenét, and there were actually also 38 sex offenders in a 3-kilometer radius of the Ramsey's home as well. Now, just like the detective I had spoken about earlier, there had been many other investigators which felt like the intruder theory was very much viable and that an aggressive investigation had to be done regarding this theory. And over the years, there had been many suspects which have been brought to light. However, this case remains unsolved as there has been no DNA evidence and just nothing which can really pin one person to this murder. Okay, so that concludes the 2 main theories. There's honestly so many theories regarding this case because it is unsolved and it is pretty popular. So if you guys are interested in reading more on the theories and just stuff about the case, I definitely recommend you guys check out Reddit because it's just a rabbit hole full of stuff and it's so interesting to look through. But yeah, one thing I did want to mention that just came into my head is like, you know how like JonBenét was a multi-millionaire businessman, right? So he's basically high profile. So like it's kind of weird that the FBI arrived at 10 a.m. when the phone call was supposed to happen from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So like you would think they'd be there earlier, especially since he's as high profile as he is. But yeah, that was the only thing that was kind of shady to me from what I read. But yeah, I don't know anything about that, but yeah, what do you guys think about this case? Comment down below your theories on the case, who you think was the perpetrator, and if there's any other facts that you guys read up on that you find interesting that you want to share, definitely share it down below. But yeah, that concludes my video. I'll catch you guys next time with my next true crime video, and like always, keep shining.